Good afternoon.
Hello.
See if we're all. Are we all on?
Hello, hello.
Hey, hey.
Do you see us? Do you hear us? I think they do. Welcome to the Niche Lifestyle Show. I'm Alex, but I'm also joined by Doug, Mark, and Adam. And today we're going to be talking about setting up a website and finding a niche. We've gone a little bit more practical with the topic this week rather than the kind of abstract stuff that we have been talking about. But of course, we can go off on tangents. We can talk about whatever you like, really. So if you got any questions or comments or anything you want to say, just pop it in the chat and we'll try to get to you when we can. Thank you, Steve, for the sound check there. But let's start by finding out what everyone's been up to. Let's start with Adam in the sweaty UK. Is it cooler yet?
No, not really. It's threatening to rain today, but it's still very close and humid and generally hot, to be fair.
It's not as hot as yesterday. The day
peaked
before,
at 40,
though.
did it?
Nowhere.
Yeah, it's not as hot
40.
as...
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's like a record. The UK has never been that hot before.
Literally was a record, wasn't it? It was on the news. Hot to stay on record.
Ever. I mean, they only started keeping records a few years ago, to be fair. 100 years ago or something like that. But that's pretty hot. That sounds really uncomfortable. Have you been able to work?
Yeah, well, the other thing I've been up to is I had more of my tattoo done yesterday. So I spent yesterday in a very sweaty tattoo shop.
Oh, a tattoo in 40 degrees heat. That sounds mighty unpleasant.
Yeah, it wasn't the best, to be fair. It was a little bit... And the kind of chair you sit on is like leather, and then at the bottom where they do the tattoo, they like wrap it in cling film and like wet it, or they clean it with something. So like my leg was stuck to this cling film.
Ooh, and then you're
And
stuck
then
to the chair.
hot-
It's oh my god.
Yeah, not great.
But how's
And
it
you guys
looking? Are you
typically-
pleased? Sorry, Doug.
Oh, yeah. No, you go along with the tattoo. Yeah.
We'll finish off tattoo talk. Are you pleased with the progress?
Yeah, it's good. I'm back in another 2 weeks now, and hopefully all of the bottom of my leg will be finished. Like the whole right the way around, all the way around the calf, all the way around the shin, and then we're going to start on coming up then to the top of the leg, which is going to take longer because it's a bigger part of my leg. I've actually got quite chunky legs from doing lots of cycling when I was younger. So yeah, the top part of I've gone usually big like thighs, not thighs, yeah, thighs at the top.
He's got a lot more canvas, then, has he? To like.
Yeah, and it's not great in this weather. I've got a bit of thigh rubbage going on.
Are you getting a little thigh chafage?
I call it a bit of chub rub.
Oh god. Let's move on from Adam's legs. This is just getting weird. Doug, what's the weather like with you? You're not too hot, are you?
Actually, it's about the same. So it was about on Monday it was like 103. Yesterday it was about 100, and I think it's about the same temp. So it does get that hot here, but not super often. The bad part is I've been working in the yard, so we have like sod out there, lawn, but we kind of live in the desert, so we're replacing it with rock and some like drought resistant plants and plants that don't need much water. So we'll save a lot of water. I won't have to cut the grass, blah, blah, blah. But it's been very difficult. So on like Sunday, I spent, I think like 8 hours, like removing sod, like by hand. I didn't get like a machine or anything. So I just had a shovel, getting it out. I got like 32,000 steps, my watch said. Something like 16 miles just walking around the yard. So
Wow.
all in the heat. I mean, I picked a warm week to get into it, but yeah, it's coming along good. And it's good, like physical activity, get away from the desk. Like it's hot, but once you're out there, just drink some water, you'll be all right.
Yeah,
But
that's the main thing. Stay hydrated.
yeah, and
Important.
good thing, like I'm down in the basement, so it stays cool. But we also have air conditioning here because it does get warm pretty often. Like in the UK, right? Like a lot of you guys don't have AC regular
No.
at your house. Okay.
You don't. There's no point getting it for like 3 days a year.
Mark
Yeah.
has it. Mark has it though.
I've got it in my office, yeah, which is nice.
Fancy.
Okay. It's just a smaller space, so you just have that one room or whatever.
Yeah, just when you got it kitted out. I get hay fever, so I didn't want to have the windows open in the summer, like the doors open in the summer, like because I'm in the garden. So got it for that, but it doubles up as good for when it gets hot too.
Nice. Yeah. So I've just been working outside, putting in the
Perfect.
hours.
Yeah, I've not been working outside. It's still pretty warm here. We're just cruising at about 30 every day at the moment, which is starting to build now. I mean, once the buildings and everything get warmer and warmer, it just seems to get hotter and hotter. But anyway, Mark, what have you been up to?
Yeah, I've been all right. Yeah, like Adam and I have been working on some new stuff to come from Niche Website Builders. We're super excited about, but we can't tell you about it yet. But in the next 6 months or so,
Top
we've got
secret.
some really big news, and we're quite excited to work on it. We're getting in that kind of zone where we're really excited and talking about it all the time. And yeah, so we're really looking forward to being able to share that at some point. The low light of my week was it's not looking so bad now, but I went to walk into the branch of a tree and cut my head quite badly. So
Is there quite a lot of claret everywhere?
it wasn't actually dripping down my face or anything, but it was kind of, it was just kind of
nothing there.
It's just a mere flesh wound, yeah, just a little scratch. But yeah, I took a wrong turning and then turned back and then instantly walked into a branch. So.
Well, that's an interesting highlight of the week, or low light.
It's a low light. Yeah.
Okay, let's just quickly go into the chat. There were some people asking where on earth in the UK Adam is. Can you not tell from the way he talks? I think Carl guessed.
Scotland.
He's from Wales somewhere, aren't you?
Yeah, just outside Cardiff, so just outside the capital of Wales.
There we go. And it even gets warm in Wales. Although you are slightly cooler in Wales than the rest. I think in London it's been over 40, hasn't it?
London's always warmer, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
up north is the coolest, probably.
I can't imagine what the tube is like. Did they shut the schools? Did it get that bad?
No, they shut the spa near Adam though.
Are you talking about the shop or the health club?
No, we were booked in to go to a spa treatment on Monday and they closed it. It said too hot. It's going to be uncomfortable.
So you're going to go there and get in a sauna. The sauna might actually be cooler than outside.
It's like a massage spa. Like you go and get a.
Not one of those with all the nice pools and that. I love those places.
Nah, not one of those.
Yep, all good. No buffering, Carl. Yeah, Carl. I think last night's stream. I think everyone was saying it was buffering and we were blaming Google and everything. But I actually think it was my Xbox downstairs running a big update. How annoying! It just does it by itself. I must make sure to unplug it before streaming again. Okay. So what have I been up to? Not much. There was some stuff going on yesterday, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's just negative. If you want to find out what that was, there's a video on my channel. I'm currently editing a new video on using Jasper AI, and the article's already doing well. It's over on Best Corn Popper if you want to see it. It's about removing popcorn from your teeth and gums. It's a very interesting topic and useful because that is the main problem with popcorn, as we all know. So let's crack on with the subject in hand, which is setting up and finding a niche. Now, the question that I think we all probably get all the time is, what niche should I pick? What niche is going to make me loads of money? How do I choose a niche? Is this a good niche? Basically, we get a lot of questions about niches and indeed niches. So, Doug, let's start with you. When someone says to you, what niche should I pick? Which is going to earn me the most money? What do you say?
That's a good question. I do get it just about every single week on the live stream. And I've changed my answer over time. I think now I generally say find something that you're interested in. You don't have to be passionate, but at least interested in. And do some keyword research. It's probably going to be okay. You're probably going to find some keywords, and most topic areas are rich enough with keywords that you are going to be able to earn money. Usually this question comes from someone who hasn't done anything before, so they don't.
Yeah, it's their very first site, and they want to make sure they get it right.
And it's something they could get stuck in, like analysis phase. So I just encourage people to get started. Like, it's probably going to be okay if it's not their biggest and best site, which, because it's their first site, it probably won't be anyway. So I just encourage people to get started. And I want it to be something they're interested in, because it takes a little while to get moving and get traction, get traffic on your site because of the Google sandbox. And if they are interested, they'll be able to push through, hopefully, the tough times that are ahead, or at least the amount of time that they're not going to get any feedback. It'll look like it's not working, and they'll have to just push through for 6 months or a year. Of course, there's different exercises you can go through with brainstorming or competition analysis, or hopping over to Amazon, for example, and just look at different product areas and categories and departments, and then brainstorm, and then you could do some keyword research that way. And I usually, when I'm trying to find a new niche, or back in the day when I mapped a lot of stuff out, the pros and con list. And I mean, honestly, at this point, I've seen, many different sites. Have been working in this sort of industry for 9 years. So generally, there's not any like new ideas unless there's a new technology. So a lot of stuff works. And if you find competition, that's actually a good sign, because people are earning money at it.
Yeah. Good tips. Let's ask Adam the same question. So what do you say when someone asks you about choosing niches and niches?
Similar to Doug, in that you can spend way too much time trying to figure out where to start rather than starting. And then outside of, the ultra competitive stuff of casino and, those kinds of typical spaces where are considered more difficult, almost every niche is saturated. There's players in that space. Typically, it's very rare that you find a space where you're going to be the only person in there. And if you are the only person, you've got to think, is this space actually, why is nobody else here? Am I really the first person that's found this, or is it because there's not enough search volume, or the idea is not big enough, or whatever? But what I would also say is, really, apart from the point that Doug mentioned about having kind of an interest or a passion in the space, the niche really doesn't matter too much. As long as you can do your keyword research, you can almost always uncover areas and topics where you can start, which are low-hanging fruit, whether that's going and looking at zero search volume keywords, looking at people also ask questions, Google auto suggest. So, they're the kinds of keywords that people won't find if they're using the traditional tools, or whether it's using something like Keyword Chef and going after and looking at what's ranking with forums and Quora on page one. So, they're underserved topics within a bigger space. Like, you can almost always find those kinds of opportunities within any space, within any niche. So really, I personally don't think the niche matters. It matters about the action that you take once you've actually started. The other thing I will point out, and I think this is becoming more and more prevalent, is I saw somebody talking the other day about a niche idea, and on the face of it sounded really cool. It was a website all about is such and such year a leap year? And they thought, I can make this website, it can have X number of pages because you can go back all the way and it's just a simple calculation. But when you Google, is 2020 a leap year? You've got to Google's own calculator on there. It tells you if it's a leap year or not. It's not a featured snippet, it's their own inbuilt calculator. And I think Google is trying to do that with more and more results. So you've also got to be mindful, if you're going to build a site around just that one topic, for example, it's probably not going to get any traffic, even though the search volume might look good. So it's just like a caveat to be aware of when you are picking something.
Yeah, you picked that up the other day when I mentioned I was looking at the can you eat it niche. And you said that you had experience in that, and that, again, that's the kind of information that people will take straight from Google. Can I eat a kiwi skin? Yeah. And the Google will present on the snippet yes or no, and that's really all they need to know.
The other one I saw recently, which was how many tablespoons in an ounce, for example, or whatever, like in the kind of food space. I think the search volume is massive, like hundreds of thousands. But when you Google it, the answer is there in a snippet. It's like 3. And like, if I'm cooking something and I want to know how many tablespoons I'm going to put in because I've got this thing, I'm not going to click the article and read like a paragraph that goes into
what more is there to say anyway? I mean,
yeah. So like that one I think can skew it because the keyword difficulty looks really low. The search volume looks massive, but even if you rank number 1, you're probably not going to get it. You probably will get traffic, but you're not going to get a ton of traffic.
Interesting. It's good caveats there. Mark, have you got anything to add? To the
me and Adam obviously talk too much because there's a lot of stuff there. I was saying, I think it's more about what niches not to choose and what niches to choose.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, is there any niches you would steer well clear of?
The ones that Adam mentioned just a minute ago, like casino, finance, credit cards, all that
Okay,
kind
but
of
what
stuff.
about something
But
like a lot of people? I see a lot of people. They want to do tech because they're into tech. They like computers, cameras, whatever. Would you say that's a good area to get into?
So it can be, but what you got to remember with things like the tech space and those kind of spaces is that products change all the time, so that much more regularly. So it's not stuff you're not going to write something that's evergreen. That's going to last forever. You know, the new version of a laptop or whatever is going to come out, and the old article is going to be obsolete, and therefore you're going to have to spend much more time updating and writing new content and refresh content, and your old content isn't going to be so have such high longevity. On the flip side, you know, they do have quite high value products in that space, so affiliate can be good. You know, ads is likely to be good as well for the same similar reason. So there's pluses and minuses, but for that, I tend to avoid those kind of things.
Yeah,
Just
me
because
too.
Of the longevity.
I think you said a great word there that I think is key when choosing a niche, and it's probably something people want to keep in mind. That word is evergreen. What I mean by that is content that you can write and it will last for many, many years without having to be updated or changed. So anything with fast-moving products like tech doesn't fall under that category. Another thing people have said to avoid in the chat, this is from Carl, he says steer clear from YMYL, which of course stands for your money or your life. And then I'm going to try and pronounce your name, Bien Thamin says, but what niches are under YMYL? Doug, what niches would you say would fall under your money or your life?
Well, anything that has to do with money or health. And Carl jumped in and said health and finance. There are some, like, I would say, like, shoulder areas. So maybe like,
is fitness
different
one of them,
diets.
you think? Yeah, diet and fitness
and diet, where it's like on the edge of lifestyle. So I think you can like sneak in and do okay there. And generally, I do say steer away from your money or your life. However, I just interviewed a guy named Tony. I'm going to mess up his last name, but Tony's last name starts with an M, and he's a physical therapist.
M.
Yeah. Mamatato, something like that. Pretty close to that.
Is he Italian or something?
He that's what I thought, but I don't want to make assumptions. But he's a physical therapist, and he got into digital marketing a little bit and then realized, oh, I have this certification, a credential. He's literally, a doctor. So he started a website and he's ran with that. So like, if you have a qualification, you can lean on it and you will, like, that's why your money or your life is hard. If you jump in and you have like a medical site and you're not a doctor, you don't have the trust and authority for people to trust you.
Yeah.
So like for me, I have a project management certification, PMP. So I could lean on that. And that's not your money or your life, but like it is a certification that if I was teaching productivity and like systems and stuff, I would probably be more qualified than someone that, didn't have the credential. Not necessarily credentials are bullshit sometimes, but a lot of times it's good.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do we think Google verifies these credentials? I could just put MD after my name or whatever, or put a DR in front of my name and just call myself a doctor. But how would Google actually check that I am or am not a doctor? Mark, Adam, any ideas?
Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
So in terms of the EAT stuff, I think it's very difficult. Like, I think you can do it by setting up like specific like social profiles and things like that. But in terms of actual genuine credibility, you've probably got to have genuine credibility with printed publications and all that kind of stuff that you can kind of be associated with and connected to. So I think just for a niche site, it's actually quite difficult unless you can get quotes from specific people and that kind of thing. But it's, I think it's challenging.
Tricky. Yeah, and I think...
And so it should be, right? And there's a reason
Yeah, of course. No, you can't just call yourself a doctor and then Google will automatically take that as written. My feeling is, especially in health, medical kind of health stuff, Google now has just chosen a handful of medical sites that it trusts, and they're the ones that it serves. It's just not going to risk serving any sites that it doesn't know the backgrounds of. And those sites are probably handpicked, I would have thought, by Google engineers rather than letting the algorithm.
In terms of picking a niche, though, I've got one tip that I kind of that I use. So if you've got an idea about a niche, the way that I go about it is I don't dig straight into the keywords straight away. I go and check out competitors in the niche. So I try and find a whole bunch of sites, and that can give you a good idea about how difficult a niche is, but also the size. So if you go and check out some other sites within the niche, well, how much traffic are they getting? Looking at Ahrefs, how much traffic are they getting? Is it actually a big niche? Is there a lot of scope for a lot of articles and a lot of traffic, or is there not? And also, like, keyword difficulty scores and stuff in things like Ahref can be very misleading. But if you can go and check out your competitors and check, what kind of authority of the sites that are ranking for those terms, that can kind of give you an idea about how challenging that niche might be, but also the scope and the size of the niche. Both are important. So that's kind of a way that I don't really go into the keyword tool straight away.
No.
I just want to lead with a little teaser there, because Mark mentioned at the start that we're working on some stuff, and one of the projects we're working on internally would probably help with this. So it's quite a heavy data project, and we're looking at over 1,000 affiliate and content sites across different niches, and we're looking at 3 different factors: how many pieces of content they have, their domain rating and backlinks, and the age of the site. And hopefully when we release that kind of data, and we're going to do some funky stuff with it, but you'll be able to see, but at least at a top level kind of niche, like, is this the tech niche, is this the food niche, etc., like what it takes to be successful. If you want to be successful in X niche, then on average you would need 2 years and X number of pieces of content and a domain rating of Y on average to get to X amount of traffic. So we might have something interesting to share in the next couple of months on how that would work on a top level kind of space.
Interesting. All right, let's jump to a few comments quickly. Marcus asks, when is something considered evergreen? If a product group lasts for about 7 to 10 years and then a follow-up product launches, is that not considered evergreen?
I'd say by default, no, that's not evergreen. I'd say it's got longevity, but I wouldn't say it's evergreen.
Things that never change are in evergreen, like we were just saying, how many ounces or how many teaspoons in an ounce, that's never going to change. I mean, that's kind of semi-evergreen. That's long-term content, but it's not. You're going to have to change it eventually, aren't you?
And I think that's probably long enough.
Yeah. I mean, end of the day, the world might be ended in 7 years, so don't worry about it. Kazoo says, as a Filipino, Doug's tattoo caught my eye. Smiley face. Okay. There it is. Yeah, it's cool.
Is that got a Filipino connection to that tattoo, or is it just tattoos in general?
It's from the Filipino flag. So that Kazu was like, I'm Filipino, so he or she saw it. Yeah.
Gaz says, I found when checking out my competitors that most had articles on products that are obsolete that people won't search for anymore. That's a great opportunity then, but obviously means your content also is probably not evergreen. BN again says, I wanted to go into web design and web dev because I know HTML, CSS and JS and I don't know how to go from here. Thinking of starting a YouTube channel. You go into web design if you want. Although building clients' custom sites with HTML, CSS and JavaScript may not be what most want. Most would probably want help just setting up a platform like WordPress or something like that because it's easier for them to maintain, and if for whatever reason they fall out with you, they can easily move on. So it's an easier sell for you as well, and probably less work. But I've actually got a video on that on my channel. The main thing to do is you just got to start making some sites for people, whether you do that for free or at very low cost, just to build up your portfolio and your reputation. Of course, sharing web design tips and stuff on YouTube could also be viable. Leanne, good to see you. I've got your email. I'm going to hopefully reply to it today. And yes, I think the tarmac and rails were breaking in the UK in the heat. They do that in the heat, in the cold, whatever. It has to be around between 10 and 20 degrees, otherwise everything falls apart. It's been my experience. Choose one that won't drain you to work on, a long haul, lower competition, major growth potential, easy to expand content, put your own twist on it and be excited for it. There we go. So, evening, Michelle. It's obviously evening down in Australia. Carl just clarifies that Evergreen content is SEO content that is continually relevant and stays fresh. Hello to the late comers. Hello, Tony. Yeah, we're going to get to that in a minute, platformers, people. Let's just finish talking about niches. So the last thing I want to say is, when choosing a niche, would you go for something really broad? Let's say, I don't know, food. Or would you go more specific? Let's say baking. Or would you go even more specific and go to just like tray bakes? Where would you kind of sit on your niche? How broad do you like to go? Let's start with Mark.
I think that's good. Have that scope to broaden out is good. But what you've got to think of is you've got to start super niche to start with. So you might want to start with tray bakes to start with and dominate the tray bake space. And once you've kind of exhausted that and you've got some great credibility and some authority in that space, then you can branch out. But you don't want to start broad and just write an article on every different type of cooking thing that you want to write about. You want to go narrow, and then once you finish that, go narrow in the next thing, and go narrow in the next thing. Eventually, you'll have a broad site. That's how topical authority works, and helping you rank for different topics in Google. You need to have a certain, can't think of the right word, certain level, number of, certain number of pieces of content, which is the wrong. A critical mass or something like that is what I'm looking for.
Depth of content, a critical, a certain mass of content.
Critical mass of content before you can consider credible in the eyes of Google. So you're going to have to go deep into each space individually, and then. But I think it's good to be able to then branch out if the site's doing well and you want to leapfrog on the back of the success you're having. I think it's good. If you just start narrow and you've pigeonholed yourself into a box, and then you've got nowhere to go, then you've got a good successful site with limitations. So I think it's always good to have that scope to go further outside. So.
Okay. Doug, have you got anything to add to that in terms of how broad do you like to see a site?
I think Mark and I agree. Yeah, I like to brand a site really broadly so you could expand if you want to, but in the beginning you should focus very narrowly. And you don't have to expand, but if you name your website something general enough, then you can if you want, and it's good for if you want to sell in the future or something like that. There's a lot more potential and flexibility built in.
Okay, well that does lead us nicely on to the next bit, unless you've got something really important to add, Adam, on broadness. No, I think we've covered that. So you're choosing, a lot of people again, they think of a niche, and then the next bit they get stuck on is the domain name or the name of the site, whatever, whether they're buying expired domains or whether they're buying a fresh domain. What guidance do you give people when they're thinking about a domain name, Doug?
Usually, the broad branding is key. The other part is to just pick something, move forward. Don't get hung up for 3-4 weeks or months or whatever. They're like, oh, I got the great idea, but I just don't know what to name it. You could change the name later if you want to. It's a technical problem to solve, but it's a known quantity. So just pick something and move forward. Honestly, it really doesn't matter that much. I typically like to get a .com, but it's common to use other TLDs, a top level domain, and I think that's totally fine. So I don't worry. I think a lot of us, this group, we just take action and move forward and fix anything that we messed up in the past. So same thing with the domain name. Just pick something, move forward, fix it later if you've made a mistake. The big thing is don't have a trademark or another company's name in there or anything that's copyright, because that is a legal issue that is less fun to solve than if you found a better name sometime in the future.
Yeah, I've had that problem. Definitely don't do that. Okay, I think probably Doug's covered that. But just in terms of keywords, is that not important anymore? It used to be, if you get some of those keywords in the domain name, that might be useful. Adam, any thoughts on that?
No, and it's probably quite timely because I've spent the last couple of weeks looking at hundreds of domain names from different spaces that are all successful from this data project. And no is the honest answer. It makes the job a lot harder because you have to get the list and open up each domain name and look at what the content is. if they all had the word food in there, or technology, or phone, or something like that, it would make the job a lot easier. But the randomness of some of the domain names are incredible, and there doesn't seem to be any pattern between how long a domain name is either. I know some people ask, should it be too long? Does it have to not have hyphens in there or anything? I've seen sites with millions of visits which are super long, and I've seen sites with millions of visits which are really short, some with hyphens, some with not, some with the keywords in, some without. So I don't really think it matters at all.
No,
these
just
days.
choose something that you like that's available, get on with it. Don't worry about it too much. Most people aren't even going to notice the domain that much anyway. They're going to be coming from Google and just looking at your content anyway.
I would avoid. I know that you do this, Alex, but I would avoid doing the exact match domain stuff like best pressure washers, for example. I would just not go down that route because I think it's just it's a potential red flag, like straight away for Google. If someone's going to do a manual check on it at Google, like it automatically looks. I think like you're an affiliate site, and I would just kind of avoid like those kind of things.
Thank you.
But the what's I going to say? But I think the domain doesn't matter as well. So say you did do like a tray bake type domain, right? So traybakesforall or something.com. If you did stretch out into like cakes and biscuits or something else like further down the road, I don't think it really matters. Like
but something like Doug's Kitchen would be better, probably.
Probably, yeah, I think so. But at the same time, I don't think you're going to have a difficulty, a challenge ranking, because they're not going to look at the domain name. They're going to look at the
content and and everything else.
The authority.
Google's not going to go, hang on, this is not a tray bake. This recipe, this is a conventional cake. No, I'm not ranking that. It doesn't match with the
There's a real life example of that. There's a website called cookiesandcups.com, which started with cookies, but now they get 500,000 visits a month. They've got 1,900 pages that cover everything from breakfast, desserts, dinner, breads, everything. So they started with cookies and bacon, and then they just rolled it out. But the domain still talks about cookies and cups, cookies and cupcakes, but they've gone way past that.
And it doesn't matter.
No.
I think I've got no evidence of this, and I haven't even checked it out. But the new TLDs, the new top level domains like .kitchen and stuff like that. I don't know if Google uses this as an indicator, but if you've got a .kitchen, you probably don't want to make that like a finance site or something. I would imagine,
no,
or pick that up. I think you probably want to at least have a top level domain that. I have no idea, right? Yeah, it just feels like that maybe they'll might use that, but I have no idea. But
maybe it doesn't matter.
Something silly.
All right, let's do a few more comments, then we'll move on to the actual website itself, platforms and building sites and things. Let's just go to Rattlehead 20XX. Evergreen content is valuable, but if all your content is static, it doesn't encourage multiple visits. A healthy balance between evergreen content and cycling content is better, in my opinion. Fair enough. I haven't looked at my analytics. I don't know how many people do return to an affiliate site. A lot of them come from search, find their thing, and then go. I don't know if people do bookmark or return to sites. Anyone got any thoughts on that?
No, and also the bounce rate is typically high on an affiliate site, right? Because someone is searching for an answer to a specific question or a review of a specific product. They're not there to come back and consume the content. They're not.
No.
They just want the answer there and then. They're there to find it and click read the article, or they click back and go somewhere else. That's
or they hopefully maybe click on one of your affiliate links and disappear off to Amazon and order something or whatever.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're not going to be hanging around too long.
Yeah.
Hi guys, says Phil. Do you know what Google define as a niche area? I'm not sure I understand the question. What do you guys think Phil's asking there?
Not sure.
I think
I don't know.
Yeah, maybe it's just talking about topical relevance a little bit and that. And
maybe.
How do you? Google understands is going to understand entities and topics to a certain degree, but you can help it better understand them by creating a certain number of articles and then in internal linking them together as well, and that's going to help give you that that topical cluster that Google will when they're crawling the site, it's going to say that all those articles are linked together and give you some kind of authority in that space. So maybe that's something along the lines we were talking about.
Speaking of internal linking, Vince asks, should Vince remove their related posts plugin? Is it bad for SEO? Doug?
I don't think it's bad for SEO specifically, so I would lean on like the user experience, and if it makes sense to you to have that in there, then I think it's fine. I've heard the argument that it gets you internal links to relevant stuff if you have such a plugin. So I don't think I have an issue with it, but to be fair, I don't keep up with like if there's a Google update that recently came out about related post plugins, I didn't know about it, and I don't know. Did you guys know anything?
Well, from my experience with someone who was in SEO yesterday, who critiqued one of my websites that was using a related post plugin. I don't know if he's worth his merit, but he said that in the recent Google update, this was something that they looked at, and ideally, if you are going to be doing internal links, which you should be, of course, because they're very valuable from SEO, the related post plugin is a lazy way of doing it, and it's much better to actually take that off and add some links within your content that are relevant and contextual. Is a far better way of doing it. So yeah. I don't know. I'm still running it on a couple of sites. The site that is running it was hit particularly bad by Google, and the internal links on that site are a bit of a mess. Another thing that he picked up on, which was a mistake, was linking to the same page twice from one bit of content. So I think, internal links are very important, and you need to really do some research in terms of how to get that right. But I think the best bet would probably be to just add one or two contextual links within the body of the article.
I don't think related post stuff is a problem per se, if it helps people navigate the site or whatever. But I mean, I think it's highly likely that the same way that Google ignores navigation and footers and stuff and sidebar stuff, doesn't really qualify them as internal links. I think it would probably look at related posts and almost disqualify those as effectively internal links.
It's really looking for relevant contextual links within the copy.
Yeah.
Peter asks, so you start with Tray Bakes and become an authority and now start with another site for baked foods. Can I link between the two sites, or is that illegal?
Yep, do it.
Do it. I think anything's
and
illegal.
I'll jump in.
Yeah.
I want to jump in. Yeah. I wouldn't do that. I would just expand on your existing site. Why start another site? Basically the same thing.
Of course, linking between your own sites is not illegal. And by the way, Google are not the law. They just have guidelines. They don't send the feds around if you start linking between your sites. A review site asks, apart from finance, money, and insurance, which other niche pays better with display ads? Do any of you guys have any ideas which niches pull in those high CPMs? I know, for example, that the kind of sphere that I'm in and that a lot of us are in terms of working from home, making money online, that can have quite a nice RPM. Anything spring to mind with you guys?
Two sites in the same niche can have vastly different RPMs, so it's not that easy and that straightforward. But I know that Azoic are currently working on releasing something which does give you kind of some guidance in that space based on their.
So basically, it depends. There's no rule of thumb on that one.
I think the rule of thumb I'll throw in. I'm sorry, I'm just interrupting because I just want to say something. So, anything that's expensive, like if the companies are earning a lot of money, then they have money to spend on ads. So if it's like cheap products and stuff, then they won't have money to spend. So just think of it logically, and then you don't need to refer to like a study. Like you'll directionally be moving in the right area.
Yeah. Because the things that you mentioned, finance, money, insurance, are quite high value products. Anything also on a subscription, so anything to do with hosting or anything with subscription generally will have advertisers paying more because of the value of a customer, which is what it's all about. Because you've got to bear in mind that advertisers, they're bidding against each other to get their ads shown across the internet. So they're going to have more money to play with if they're making more money on their products. But of course, a lot of people that visit your site will see adverts that are completely unrelated to the niche and more related to them, until we slowly destroy the cookie and all that privacy stuff. Zach adds to this, think about the audience. You want US affluent, somewhat older people browsing on desktop rather than mobile. That's an interesting point. As I said, yeah, the ads shown are going to be probably more targeted to the audience rather than the niche of your site. So that's worth considering. Simple Garner says, go wide, then niche down. Eunice is here, says, hi everyone. I put some links on Quora, Reddit, and YouTube. When I check backlinks on Ahrefs, they don't appear there. They're not backlinks? Any thoughts on that?
Well, they are backlinks, and they probably will. There's I don't know. Does Ahrefs filter some stuff like that out? I have a feeling they do.
No, it would definitely crawl those sites, and I've got to say, Ahrefs has not been great over the last few weeks for me in terms of pulling up data and just generally being a bit slow and clunky.
Check the Search Console links.
Yeah, that might show you.
The thing you got to think about, like a site like Quora or these big sites, how many new posts do they get a day? Like, they've got to get those indexed. So you might post something today and you can find it on Reddit, but it might not be indexed in Google today. It might take a couple of weeks for that to get indexed in Google. And if it's not indexed in Google, then the chances are it's probably not indexed by Ahrefs either, who've got less indexing power than Ahrefs. So it'll probably appear there. Just take time.
Yeah, and sites like Reddit and Quora are very big sites for these engines to crawl.
You're going to have limited benefit from links like that as well.
Yeah, they're all going to be no follow and whatever. And who knows?
Any links you can create yourself is going to be lower. Yeah.
BN says, do you guys think a dive into WordPress to make everything easy for me and my client as well? Yeah, I definitely think that's a good idea. Good afternoon, Phil. Why would Google consider a particular set of words to be a red flag? EMD is only a problem for expanding into other areas, in my opinion.
So that was like best pressure washers, right? I think,
right, okay.
Stuff. Yeah. So I think things like that is that, you're supposed to not try to be over optimizing for keywords and stuff. So if you're clearly optimizing in the domain, and I'm not even sure, like, over time it's just kind of been considered best practice to avoid doing that kind of stuff, because it looks like right from the outset that you're looking to game the algorithm by doing that. So again, I think, if someone was to check that as a manual check in Google, they're like to go, okay, well, like he's got like a keyword in the domain, like an exact match keyword. Like, I just think it's a problem. It may not be a big problem, but like I would just avoid it, to be honest.
Okay.
There's other domains to be had.
Yeah. It's probably a little bit dated now. I need to get out of the habit. I've lost where I am. Sue wants to add, I thought it makes sense to include the related posts articles. It gives readers something to click on if they get to the end of the article. How does it... it doesn't improve time on site. It may improve time on site. I think a lot of people used it as a lazy way to build internal links, and that may be where we're losing a bit of merit on that in terms of it's not giving you the internal links that you need for your SEO. Pete says, yeah, I did. I don't want to bring that up. I don't know who's messaging Charles. If any of my lot are messaging Charles with horrible things, please stop. That's not what I want. Yeah, Leanne adds, I think related post is for user experience. Okay, I know I've missed a few of your comments. There's quite a lot coming in. Sorry if I didn't mention yours, but we are running out of time, and I want to get onto the last part, which is building the actual website. We've talked about choosing a niche and domain names and all that kind of stuff. And we've also kind of touched on building websites and things. But Adam, how do you put together your websites in terms of your platforms and themes and that kind of thing?
Yep. So all on WordPress. I think most of us probably build on WordPress, the easiest kind of to get into. For themes, typically I'd use Astra. It's the free version. Like, you can get the pro version if you want, but the free version is just fine. It's lightweight, been around for a long time, it's well supported, and I think Astra's a good theme. I know Mark likes GeneratePress, which is exactly the same, lightweight, been around for a long time. There's a free version and that kind of stuff. And in terms of plugins then, I've just opened up a site to run through them. So yeah, we use a plugin for the contextually related post section at the bottom. We don't rely on that for internal linking, but I do think it's good for user experience. Get to the end of an article, like where'd you go if you do want to read more? We typically use a plugin called Lazy Load for videos. So almost all of our articles, we embed a YouTube video. But it's really hard to pass Web Core Vitals with a YouTube video embedded straight on the site because I don't know why it's a Google product, but YouTube calls all kinds of scripts. And the Lazy Load for Video plugin basically puts a thumbnail of the video and only loads the scripts when you click on it.
That makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
It's kind of weird, that, isn't it, that Google penalise you for embedding a Google-hosted video.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't get that. It's typical Google, right? We use Link Whisper for the internal linking. We did a live stream last week, or Mark did a live stream last week, where he talked through the exact process of how we do our internal linking with Link Whisper. And we got up the site and did examples and stuff like that. So Link Whisper for the internal linking. We use Lucky WP Table of Contents for the table of contents. Again, it's a free plugin. You can customize the colors and set and to pull in a table of contents. We use a plugin called Starbox to add the author box at the bottom of each page, and that allows you to add an image of the author and a little bit about them. So we kind of customize the about us text, add an author box at the bottom of each page. This all comes back to try and add that more kind of authority eat to a site. It's hard when you're making a site though from scratch and you're typically using a made-up persona, but the more detail you can give and background and where they're from and things like that, I think helps. So we use a Starbox for that. We started doing this more recently as well. We've started using WordFence for kind of security, and also a plugin called the WPS Hide login, which allows you to change the default login URL as well. I think those two things are becoming more and more important. And you change it from /WP-admin to something like /Adam123, which only you would know, and that kind of hardens the site a little bit.
And then shared all yours now.
Well, they're not all that. Thank God. And then we use Yoast then SEO, so we don't use Rank Math.
Was there a reason behind that, or is that just a legacy thing that you've always been with Yoast?
We had some issues in the past. I think we use plugins that we personally use on our sites, and I know some of my sites are caught up in the past when Rank Math did that crazy thing of I can't remember exactly what it was, but they'd messed up something to do with no indexing and indexing certain pages you didn't want, and instantly moved back to Yoast.
I think Yoast did have an episode of something like that as well.
They've both gone back and forth, and I was just caught up with one of them. I moved back to the other one. We use Yoast for that. We use Yoast for the sitemaps typically. Like if we're creating custom category pages, we're doing an episode on that tomorrow, but we'll use that to no index the standard WordPress category pages and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's handy for that stuff. Do you use it for the keyword optimization, or is that outdated now?
Yeah, we get this question a lot from clients sometimes. We'll build them a website and they'll say, "Oh, the Yoast stuff on the post is empty." Why? You're like, because it doesn't mean anything. Like you put a target keyword into Yoast on the post, and then Yoast give you these recommendations like a color coded score. Who's to say that Yoast color coded score is what Google is looking for?
It's not anymore. Well, as far as we can see, Google is not relying so much on keywords now. It's looking for more of a theme and a topic of the article, isn't it? A collection of different keywords in different places. That I think that harks back from an older SEO technique of keyword stuffing and not real optimization when Google was very much keyword focused.
Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of it really on the plugin side.
And what about hosting?
Bless you, Mark.
Bless you.
Bless you.
We use DigitalOcean via Cloudways for all of our hosting. And we use that for our client site. Mark's used that for his personal sites. And to be fair, if I was starting out again now, I would use them. But I've got all of my own websites with WPX. And I can't be bothered to move them over. It's cheaper, though, on Cloudways and DigitalOcean. And in all honesty, if you're comfortable with setting up servers yourself, and I don't mean like going in the code or anything, like clicking add a server and selecting a location, like it's way better than anything else I've ever used. So I'd recommend them.
Okay. Doug, what do you? I know you haven't maybe set up any sites recently, but what for your existing sites, what do you use to build and run them?
What's that supposed to mean? Send
Well,
us
I don't
all
know.
the
I don't
time,
know
man.
if you.
No, I'm just kidding.
I
I'm
don't
just
think
kidding.
you've had any
No, you're
new
right.
sites on the go recently, have you?
You're 100% right. There's not much more to add on top of what Adam, and I'm not going to be redundant. So the other thing that I'll mention, I don't think you talked about like an offsite backup. You might have, I may have missed it in there. Security is really important. So I do have similar security things. But an offsite backup, I use, I think, is it Manage WP? Is that one of them?
Yeah, that's
GoDaddy
quite a
bought
good
it.
one.
It's
Yeah.
it's pretty cheap. It's only maybe like $2 per month per site, and you can set up how often you want it to um, pull a backup, and it'll store it wherever you want. And it's really important because even though most hosting companies will have a backup, it's on the same server, probably in the same file structure. So if there's a physical failure or someone trips over the cord and it catches on fire, then you're out of luck. So you need to have the offsite, and it also gives you like one-click restore. So I'll go in, run a backup, and then I'll edit the database and do all this really dangerous stuff because I know if I screw it up, I could just revert back to where it was 5 minutes ago. And other than that, I mean, nothing to add. You covered a ton of stuff. So
thing
Yeah,
about
for sure.
Cloudbase is that you get like I think it's a month worth of backups offsite as cloud-based storage anyway. So it does an automatic backup every day, and you can initiate one at any point in time that you want with a click of a button. And as Zach's mentioned there, the other thing it does is staging really well. So if you could just basically create staging server, which basically takes a clone of the server. You can then go and install your updates or mess about with your database or whatever you want, Doug. And then if you're happy with it, you just press a button and it takes the staging server and makes it live. Basically, just syncs it to live. So
That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's cool.
There's so many features that are awesome.
I think we covered most things. Yeah, we can't stress enough. Security is really important with WordPress. You need to have really good passwords. Don't install any plugins that you're not sure of, because I think probably all of us have had experience with sites getting hacked in the past, and it's not pleasant. I'll just like to add, obviously, Popcorn theme is a good choice for your theme. It's a theme that I worked on with Phil and Carl, so I'm slightly biased, but it's really fast and really easy to use. Phil's also really good for hosting. But other than that, if you're using WordPress and a nice clean theme and some of the plugins that I've already mentioned, you'll be fine. Okay, let's rattle through a few questions. I think we're just 2 likes from the giveaway. So let's rally with a horn. Come on, get the likes in, and then we'll do a giveaway in a few moments. Let's rattle through some quick questions. Do we still use people also ask for subheading ideas within articles? I'll answer that. Yes, is the answer to that. Marcus would like to add, I use Cadence. It's quite amazing, honestly. Super fast and well designed. I think I have used Cadence in the past. I seem to remember it was pretty good. Zishan asks, what about Core Web Vital? How to improve? Well, hosting, theme, your images, your plugins, the videos, as we just mentioned in terms of embedding videos. What would you like to say about Web Core Vitals in a really quick way, Adam?
One tip which we see quite often is to pass that largest content footprint, the LCP part, which is basically the largest element that loads above the fold. And one thing that we do when we build sites is that we set the featured image not to display on each post, and then we'll manually insert the featured image a couple of paragraphs down. So we still add a featured image to the post because that's important for Google, but in the theme settings, we have it not to display. So when the page loads, especially on mobile, the largest thing to load above the fold is typically the logo, because you've got the logo, the menu, and then into the paragraphs. You have to scroll down, and then the image is there. And that almost always takes away the LCP issues.
Interesting. Okay. It's very easy to get obsessed with this, but is it worth getting obsessed with your LCPs and your Web Core Vitals, Doug?
I don't know. I've definitely gone down the rabbit hole, and it's kind of fun to have like the list of things that are messed up and then the problem solving. I think if you're good enough, as long as you're like not in the, I don't know, whatever the bottom 70%,
yeah,
you're probably all right. And I think I would just default back, like whenever there's questions like this, I default back like, is the user experience okay? like for a real user on their mobile phone, maybe not on a fast connection, can you load your site? Is it okay? And then if it is, then I'd probably move on and worry about something else. But I wouldn't blame someone if they spent like a week or two just obsessively, because that's what I did, to just make
Get
your
up in
site
the
load as
90s, yeah.
quickly as possible and just over optimize. I over optimized. It was
Yeah.
pointless.
But first off, look at your hosting and your theme. That's going to be probably the biggest issues.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, like unless you really enjoy it, like don't do it. Like I've never gone. I know Adam's gone down that rabbit hole. I've never gone down that rabbit hole because I just bores me to kind of do that kind of stuff. There's sites that will do it for you for like I say peanuts, a very cheap price. There's WP Speedfix.com and Fix.net. They'll sort it out for you in like no time. And so if you really, unless you love it and you want to spend 2 weeks on it, when you could be writing content or building some links, then feel free. But like, I would just outsource it personally.
All right, we're at probably at the end of time. You guys all right for another 5 minutes? We'll just rattle through these and do the giveaway. There's an interesting question here that I want to ask you guys about social media accounts, YouTube channels, that kind of thing. A lot of people say that it's a good way to build credibility to your site. What would you say, Doug, regarding social media? When you set up a new website, should you be setting up a Twitter, a Facebook, a TikTok, and all that stuff?
Only the ones that you're going to be using. In the past, I would like set them all up, so at least you have like the profile link in there, and it looks like there's some presence. But I'd rather have just your Twitter profile and then like your activity on Twitter. I would not open a bunch of accounts that you're never going to use, and if someone went to it, it's empty. So
surely that's going to actually be negative. If you've just got an empty social media, it just doesn't look good. The thing is, with all those social media accounts you're adding, each one that you add is another bit of work that you're going to have to do on a regular basis to keep it fresh. Most of my affiliate sites that have, including the ones that have been successful, don't have social media accounts because I just haven't got the time. Maybe a YouTube channel. I did have a YouTube channel on one of them, but it didn't have much content. Anything else to add on social media accounts, Adam and Mark?
Well, nothing from me apart from. I was going to say Mark. We've got Mark will probably have something for the future, I guess, for on the social media. But just a quick point on setting up all those accounts takes time. You can use a company called Web20 Ranker. They offer like a social media fortress package where they'll go and set you up all of these accounts. If you didn't want to sit there, they'll just send you over a spreadsheet with all the login details. So like, if you did want to get them set up, you didn't want to spend the time, like for relatively cheap, you can have someone else set them up. And over to Mark, who's I'm gonna guess is gonna say you think is gonna be more important in the future.
I think it's important now. Like for credibility, if Google can see you've got active assets like a YouTube channel, active social media accounts that are connected to your website, it's going to give you all the more credibility when then maybe when an update comes, or even like just in general, they're going to give you more credibility in terms of maybe ranking your site as well, because you've got all these other assets around. I think that's just going to become more and more important kind of longer term. So it's more work, but of course, like that's the bar, right? Like the bar is constantly going up. And if you want to be considered real and credible and longer term, if you want to make a real business out of this, if you're not in it for the short term, then why wouldn't you want to set up other accounts where you can drive traffic to your site in other ways and collect email addresses and all those other things that a lot of people don't do?
Yeah, it makes sense, but it is a lot of work. Okay, just one. We're going to do two more questions because time is ticking on. Where do you get your privacy pages, terms of use, etc.? They're obviously very important to have. Do you get them drawn up by a legal eagle or create versions based on other sites? When you say create versions based on other sites, I guess you mean just copy and paste them from another site and change the name. Doug, what do you do with these important pages?
I used to just copy and paste from like another site and, assume that they did it right. But back when, what's it called? The GDPR and all that kind of BS.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
It was. All those laws from Europe, yeah.
GDPR BS, that was it.
Yeah. I went to, one of those websites where like you can get a customized package, a template sort of for like $100. So I like went through and did that then, and then I've reused the same one over and over again. So I think you probably could go to another website, copy and paste it, fill in your site. But because, everyone was like trying to scare all website owners, I went and got an actual like legal document.
Okay, Adam, what do you do for these pages?
There's a plugin, a free plugin called WP Auto Terms. Allows you to, you basically, when you set it up, you select what country you're in, what state you're in, what country you're in, what state you're in, and it gives you a list of checkboxes like, do
What
you
state
allow
you're in? What, like sober, drunk, merry?
Yeah, pretty much. Gives you like the option to tick boxes then, like do you allow users to register on your website, do you collect names, email address, whatever, and it generates you a privacy policy and a terms and conditions page.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can go deep with these. I don't know how important it is. I use a service called Ayubenda, whatever they're called, which is actually like a subscription service. It's pretty good, very detailed, so they will ask you for absolutely everything you're running on your site. Which plugins are you running? Google Analytics? Are you running this? Facebook tracking? This, that, and the other, and do you a really comprehensive privacy policy? Has anyone ever been sued for dropping a cookie? In fact, actually, someone did actually attempt this. A client of mine didn't have something in their privacy policy regarding the Facebook pixel or something, and someone visited their site, Facebook dropped a cookie onto their computer, and then they came back with a legal letter saying, you dropped a cookie on my computer, you didn't say you were going to drop this cookie. Obviously just trying to get some money, sort your life out, mate, kind of thing. But I guess it could happen. I don't know. Has anyone ever been sued for dropping a cookie on someone's computer when they said they weren't going to? I don't know.
No.
Don't know. You can take it as far as you want with that. It depends how paranoid you are about being sued, I guess. Just one other page I just want to quickly say, which I always struggle with, and that is the About Us page. We have touched on this in terms of if you are using a persona online or whatever, or maybe you've got a group of writers that you're using. How do you craft a good About Us page, Mark?
Yeah, you just said it pretty much. So we're actually pretty good at this because we do it for our link building, for our Haro service and that kind of stuff. So we do end up creating personas for most people. Or we can write it for a real individual if it comes down to it. But yeah, in short, we write a little bit about the business, a little bit about what it is and what its goals are, and then go kind of detailed on creating a persona for that person. If they've got some social accounts.
Yeah, I was going to say, is it important to kind of validate this by linking? Because it was an experiment that I tried on a couple of sites. I've not seen any uplift, but I went through my About Us pages. I made sure that each About Us included all of the writers, which is quite important. Then linked off to LinkedIn profiles and other social media accounts. I even went as far as getting an address, a US address, like a mailing address and phone number, just to kind of add a little bit more credibility. Because I hear that About Us pages can have quite a big effect on how well your site ranks.
Yeah, I think it's more about if you're doing outreach for link building, then it kind of, if you're reaching out to credible sources to try and get your links or to try and get backlinks from, then at least they can go and look at your site, look at your about page, and then it seems credible. That you're a credible person, and they're much more likely to be able to get a link from them versus having something that's just kind of made up and obviously nonsense.
Yeah, I think it's fine. Difficult to get a fine balance. So let's just end with Doug on this one. Doug, About Us pages, how do you approach it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you guys covered it pretty well. I don't do as much as what you guys mentioned, but typically, what you're about, why the site's there, maybe if you have any credentials or anything. One thing I have heard, I think it was that guy Tony M. that we'll talk about. He said that he linked out, I think it was him, he linked out to all the places that his credentials were verifiable. So like for me, I have an account on like projectmanagement.com. There's a profile there because I'm a PMP. So if you can do that, it's, one step above like just your LinkedIn profile. It's literally to your credential. So people can verify.
If you've got that
like
stuff, you've got to link to it. You've got to.
Yeah.
It's all gonna help. Right. There's a few, again, loads of comments that I missed. I do apologise, but there's a lot of talking, a lot of comments. It's difficult to get to you all, but thank you for all of them anyway. They've all been really good. Marcus, just to end, he says very nervous about these privacy policy things. I don't understand myself what Google Analytics and other tools actually collect. Don't worry about what they're collecting because they're going to be dealing with that. I don't think anyone will come after you for what Google Analytics is doing. And again, don't get frozen in fear with any of these things. Just put something up, whether you did copy and paste it from another website or you generate it using a tool. Go with that. It's highly unlikely you're going to run into any issues. It's time for a giveaway. Let's transition on the computer, get the wheel of names up, and do a giveaway. If you want to, hang on, let me just do this. There we go. If you want to win some merch, you need to say something in the chat right now. You've got 30 seconds just to say anything you like. Why not just put in your favourite WordPress plugin or your favourite tattooed film star. Whatever you want to put in, that's fine. You've got 30 seconds and then we're going to do a draw. Carl has just dropped £2 super chat. I will buy myself a Savetha with that later. In fact, no, I've got to share it probably 4 ways, haven't I? That's 50 pence each. Let's transition. Okay, here we are. Let me just get this here. Right. Oh, I've got too many tabs open here. It's all a bit of a mess, this, isn't it? Here we go. Wheel of names. Perfect. So yeah, you can win today. So WP Eagle merch, just like the fetching t-shirt I'm wearing now. But I've got some other things. You can find them over at WPEagle.com, including mugs, t-shirts. That's about it. It's mugs and t-shirts. But go and take a look. I mean, you probably want to wait until I pull your name out of the drawer, but that's where the merch is. 78 of you watching right now. So make sure you say something. Now you've got another 10 seconds. We're all good, Daily Family Guy. How are you? Thank you, Carl, for the link. What a horrible URL that is. That should be cleaned up. Right. Product category. Well, disgusting. Right. Let me just see if I can get these. Why can I not copy and paste today? Come on. There we go. Are you ready? We need a drum roll. WP Eagle members, like Carl, get 2 entries in the draw. If you want to join the channel, you'll see a button below the stream. Get lots of benefits like 2 entries in the draw and some custom emojis. I think it's going to be someone whose name begins with S or possibly T. I think we've got a winner. Super Shark! Congratulations! Super Shark, you are a winner. Drop me an email at eagle@wpeagle.com. That's eagle@wpeagle.com. And if you want some clothing, let me know your size. And of course, let me know your address and which bit of merch you want. And we'll get that sorted out for you. But that brings it down. I'm going to just transition back to the other camera because it's better. And then we'll say our goodbyes. Okay, let's go. Okay, Doug. Anything you want to end on?
I want to compliment you on your transitions today. I think they were flawless, and I don't know if you were practicing, but I mean, I think we could all tell. Next week, it's on my channel. This show's on my channel, and we're talking AI tools. I love AI tools. We're going to talk pros and cons next week.
I'm looking forward to it.
That should be fun.
Why have we got such a sad music going on?
So we're talking about AI tools.
It's the end of the stream. It's a tradition on here on WP Eagle. It's a sad time, isn't it? It's all over already. Anything else to add, Doug?
No, I got a jet. I got a meeting coming up in a minute here. But yeah, check out the podcast, Doug Show. I republished one of Mark's interviews on Monday. You can find it on the Doug Show. So, all right, and then I got a jet, guys. See ya.
See you, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Did that?
Adam, anything you want to end on?
We did a live stream yesterday on where we tore down some more aged domains. You can go and have a little look on how we would approach two very different topics. One was yoga, and one was, interestingly, in a niche that we've talked today about potentially staying away from, but the domain was a great domain. It's in the slot space, so kind of like gambling space. But you probably need some budget for that. But you can see how we're trying to come at it from a different angle, so I think that's quite interesting. And we're doing a live stream tomorrow on how to set up a custom category page, like an over-the-shoulder video, because we talk about them all the time, but loads of people have said, yeah, that sounds great, but how do you actually do that? So yeah, we're going to do a video tomorrow, which is shows you how you set those up.
Interesting. Okay.
How we do it. Yeah.
Mark, anything on top of that?
Building.empires.live. The URL. That's it.
That's coming
So,
up for the brand new, the second online
Second
event,
one.
yeah?
Yeah, in January, February, but also the replays are there as well from the last event, so you can go and check those
Okay.
out.
I'll have to go check that out. Good. Well, thank you for joining me, and it's been good fun. I've got nothing really to add. I'm going to hopefully stream tomorrow, if all goes well, tomorrow afternoon, continue working on Best Corn Popper, which is still growing nicely. We're doing some more tomb raiding, I guess you'd guys call it, but basically, yeah, trying to take out some competition on that one. So do join me. It'll probably be around 12 o'clock UK time, I think, probably something like that.
Awesome.
Good. Well, have a good week, everybody. Good luck with your sites, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.